And in the video prior to this one last week, I shared how it started of my alopecia story. So I moved from being the girl with the long plait through the disappointments and the challenges and the frustration and the feeling alone. And now we're bringing it into the more adult life, which is kind of the part 2. It moves into the how we're going. You'll notice that a lot of the themes kind of pull into my adult life, and there are a lot of similarities, but this is a little bit more about the hope. And because moving through becoming an adult feels a lot like it's a lot less chronological in my mind, then it's a lot less clear. Everything's a bit more of a grey area than when you're a child. So you'll notice that this is not so pulled up into the years, but rather the big events that I feel have occurred during my young adult life. So ultimately, the goal of this story is to begin to shed some light on the fact that alopecia will always be there. What changes is how you deal with it. And I hope that this video and this vlog piece inspire in you the fact that alopecia can be really difficult. And I'll go into more of this next week, but when you really come at it with the right attitude and with the right tools, you can pull out of it so much strength and so much passion and so much guidance and purpose. And you really come out and you really feel full of, as cliche, but love. So as a young adult, I completely understood my identity through the lens of my alopecia. And I felt this constant sense of being different. And honestly, I felt like I was less because I didn't have hair. I was less attractive. I was less, going to be less successful. I had this sense of insecurity and social anxiety that really penetrated my entire identity. It meant that I doubted everything that I did. I second-guessed myself in every single way. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, because what I wanted to do meant that I would be in the spotlight. It meant that I would be up teaching in front of people. I wanted to be a teacher. And I didn't want to do that, because if I stood out, then what if someone noticed that I was wearing a wig? Therefore, can't follow that dream. And so for a time, I did everything to separate myself from being the person with alopecia and to be normal. And I made a point of doing something else. I made a point of stepping away from anything that could be defined by my alopecia. But I understand that a large part of who I am is because of my alopecia. I have a bigger world view, I'm more empathetic, I connect with people in a different way, I find wisdom in things, and I'm better at, not totally great at, but not feeling too attached to things, and looking at things kind of with a bigger perspective or a more positive outlook. I feel like it's given me a lot of perspective and helped me find the more important parts of my life and important parts of my personality. So my identity in adulthood is fully circled around this. It is circled around this journey of self-acceptance and self-love and developing this strong identity. So because my alopecia started as a child, I had always been guided as to what treatment option, or should we see a dermatologist, or where would you like to go with this? And so as I became a young adult, I had kind of the challenge and opportunity to rediscover what alopecia meant for me and to create my own journey. Everything kind of came to a peak in the moments that I lost the last piece of hair or strand of hair on my head, and when I lost my eyebrows and eyelashes. I went to a dermatologist and I had him just explain to me what was happening with my body. And even though I knew this, it was really empowering to have this information given to me as an adult and to decide what I wanted to do about it. As a kid, I was raised as a Catholic. I went to Catholic school, I went to church, but I never really resonated with these teachings. But around my late teens, early adults, I definitely became more in touch with Buddhism and Hinduism, everything through yoga, and I felt really, really connected when I started to learn concepts such as Brahman and Atman and Dharma and Karma and Metta. It's been really important to do this because in finding my own spiritual path and making sense out of it in this lens has helped me move away from the childhood of like, why me? I'm so different. Woe is me, to, even though that's essential, but it's really helped me move away from it and begin to accept kind of like that uncertainty and sit with it and be okay with the uncertainty that it brings and that everything else brings. Because at the end of the day, living with alopecia means that there is always going to be a change in your circumstances. We know this. There's always going to be a roller coaster of emotions if you're in treatment or even if you're not. You're going to change the way that you look at it, the way that you look. Everything is going to change. And so by connecting to something that is much bigger than your physical looks or even how you feel in that moment, and by learning to sit with uncomfortable emotions and the discomfort of uncertainty, your whole entire life experience changes. So pursuing a career, very important part of being an adult, and oh my God, this meant so much pressure to me. I literally froze under the pressure. There were so many options and I felt like I had to have it all figured out. And I was really, really nervous about finding a career that would be like good for my hair. And then I felt comfortable wearing a wig or not wearing a wig or like dealing with that. So to be honest, I kind of just lived on autopilot. I kind of just said like, well, yeah, that's good, we'll do that. Okay. And I didn't really take any agency for myself. During the years about 2020 to 25, I totally repressed everything that I was feeling, everything that I wanted, like good and bad, and I just kind of lived like a zombie and was like, yeah, okay, it's fine. It wasn't fine. My first job though was an interesting experience because I did tell my boss about my wig. I don't really remember. He was so amazing. Oh God, he was really good. Shout out to Simon. And he made me feel like, he made a joke about it and he made me feel really like good and involved and it was fantastic, but I still had this like underlying sense of like, okay, well, like, it's like I'm different and like people know and like I just want to be normal and like I'm just gonna avoid any job that makes me have to like do my hair in a certain way. I have a story about that. When I'm a waitress, different time. When I was a waitress, different moment. And yeah, and on top of this, I started hearing stories about how people were like, their job was taken away from them because they didn't have the right nail polish, or like their hair didn't look right, or like they had these like comments, and then I was worried about it, and then I was like worried about my wig and like what do I do? So I completely avoided a lot of professions. And now everything's coming together. And it's because I'm really embracing everything and I'm just saying, okay, well, this is actually what I want from the inside and we'll make everything else work out on the outside. I feel finally like, as someone who is naturally a teacher, I've always dreamt about being a teacher and very much like a healer, nurturing, loving type of person. It makes sense for me now to be doing yoga teaching and to be doing coaching. And I feel that I'm so uniquely qualified to do exactly what I want to do because of all of these experiences. And that means that everything that was difficult before gets to come together. So apart from career, the next big thing about being an adult is getting, in my case it was a boyfriend, so having a romantic relationship. Probably one of the biggest things that I hear from people who have alopecia is that they feel that like they're worried about what their boyfriend might think or what any future partners might think. They're worried about dating and like having the hair conversation. And I myself have been really nervous about it beforehand, and I am more of a rip the band-aid off quickly type personality. So I try to have that hair conversation pretty early on. And I've been really lucky because the people that I've been around, or the partners that I've had, have always been really, really, like, it doesn't matter to them. In the same way, it really shouldn't matter to us. And they've always been really loving and kind. And I think that more people would experience this if they were to step into these loving and like have this strong relationship with self, instead of following these misguided thoughts of I'm not good enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not attractive enough. I think that that would become more the norm. And that really just reinforces how the first thing that we need to do is develop this relationship with ourselves. For a really long time, I think that my insecurities and self-doubt and lack of confidence and social anxiety stopped me from pursuing any type of really like social, positive social interactions and surrounding myself with a stronger sense of community. It took me many, many years to do this. But once I started surrounding myself with positive community that looked similarly to me or that had similar values to myself, I noticed massive, massive changes in the pride that I had in myself, the way that I felt about myself, the way that I communicated, like the world around me changed. So, how is my alopecia going? Honestly, a lot better than what it was when I was like that scared, sad, angry child. I've developed this really, really strong identity around who I am at the core, and also including not ignoring who I am because of my alopecia. I've developed a sense of community. I have loving, safe, healthy relationships, and I found a lot of love for myself and for my story at the same time. So it's going really, really well. But I didn't just wake up one morning and ba-ba, like a movie. I worked at it and I did things that were out of my comfort zone. And I found the tools to help me manage the uncertainty. I found the tools and I connected with the right guidance to help me find that self-love. I worked at it, and I'm gonna share what I did in the next video, next week, next blog post. I'm going to share about it, and I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into the behind the scenes, because it does require some changes, and it is really truly very possible to absolutely everyone and anyone. So see you next week. If you haven't already, make sure that you've seen part 1 so that you get some context, and if you haven't already, press the button down here, I believe it's down here, and subscribe so you get a little notification when part 3 comes out, and you'll also start getting, have a meander around and look at the tools that I have on this channel that will actually help you. There are tools that I've used and they could serve you.